Hi, so this is the High Priestess card out of my tarot deck. It's a major arcana card, and I wanted to talk about a little bit about symbolism and the goddess Isis and the lunar mysteries and the High Priestess and that connection there. So we'll go through the symbolism. So as you can see, we'll start with the crown. So her crown is a solar lunar disc. It's a horned diadem crown, the crown of Isis or Hathor, but you can see that it's actually Isis because she's connected to the moon and the waters, you know, and we can see that with Mother Mary, you know, that symbolizes standing her foot upon the crescent moon, and water means Mary, you know. And you can see the veil behind her with the pomegranates, which are pomegranates stand for, they're embroidered in the veil. Can you see them? They represent the underworld, where Persephone, you know, travels through the underworld and makes the subconscious conscious. And that's what the pomegranates stand for, the underworld of the unknown. Okay, and Isis, you know, she stands for lifting veils of the unknown, the mysteries, okay? And she is what you meet when you want to be truly initiated into the mysteries, because she teaches the true initiate. So, you know, when you have a look at Hermes and Hermes Trismegistus, and that, you know, Thoth is, the story goes, Thoth taught Isis the mysteries, and then she taught Horus, okay, and then she will, you know, she taught the gods and the true initiates. So, you know, no mortal can lift her veil, and what that kind of means is that you cannot lift her, no profane or uninitiated person can lift her veil to the mysteries. So she stands for intuition, you know, the deeper hidden mysteries that, you know, are veiled, okay, and only can be learnt when you are a serious practitioner, you're a serious student of hers. So she represents, this card represents Gamel, which is the camel, and crossing the abyss. It is the bridge between worlds, and it is moving forward, and it's connecting to Ketha and Tippereth, okay? So, you know, you can't meet the High Priestess without, you know, crossing the path of the abyss. That's the main journey, okay, is crossing the abyss. And she's a supernal mother, okay, that teaches these mysteries. So we have also Boaz and the jade, the Jachin. These are the pillars, and in Masonic teachings they teach that, and actually in Jewish mysteries too, that this is the entrance of Solomon's temple, and it's also described in the First of Kings. So it stands for strength and stability and permanence and divine cosmic order. It's the archetypes of balance and guardianship of the sacred threshold of the mysteries. So she's the guardian. That's a guardian at the threshold, okay, that, you know, to pass between the pillars, to walk the middle path, is to begin the path of the mysteries, okay? So that's some of the symbolism here. Now, I wanted to talk about this too. So when the magician too, because he's the adept, okay? He's the Jedi. And this is like the alchemical marriage, all right, of Christ consciousness, of God consciousness, coming to that nuptial union, that alchemical marriage and connection of the divine masculine and feminine. But we cannot get here to illumination without her, okay? We can't master ourselves of self-realization of consciousness and dissolving the ego without her, okay? We have to go through the underworld, we have to go through across the abyss, we have to like go through all the mysteries and initiations to get to mastery, okay? and they are the divine counterpart here. And I'm not talking about, you know, God consciousness in God forms. That's a trap, okay? That's where people, you know, get trapped into like the ego. I'm talking about, you know, that consciousness of super consciousness, you know, of illumination, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we can't get to the light without the darkness. It is as a catalyst, really. As I always say, the darkness is a catalyst for the light. You can't, you know, to make the unconscious conscious, you have to go through this, okay? And, you know, she is like someone that you really like, how do I put this? So to really work through her is to really be serious. Like you can't work through her if you're not spiritually mature. But yeah, she's the Shekinah, okay, of the divine feminine, and he is the masculine. So, you know, this is the great symbolism here of the workings of working with the major arcana cards, which is working with the tree of life and the major arcana cards with connection. Because I used to do tarot reading, like read tarot cards for divination. I don't do that anymore, really. I pretty much spiritually work intuitively. Like I don't feel like I need tarot cards as a tool. I feel like it just comes to me when it comes to me. And sometimes like working with the tarot cards for me with divination is kind of like just a perceived kind of manifestation of the spiritual pregnating, or my subconscious pregnating and manifesting into the physical. So I prefer to seek the divine spiritually, with just invoking that within me and, you know, trusting my intuition. And that's where she comes up. She is the initiation, the intuition, the deep psychic abilities, and strengthening your psychic faculties. You know, so I like to work with the major arcana cards for just, you know, the symbolic meaning to them. So we've touched upon Persephone and the underworld journey. So Persephone and her underworld journey, we've touched upon both. Talked a little bit about how Thoth is connected to the mysteries. We've spoken about Shekinah, Malkut, the anima and animus, and also the pneumatic superconsciousness of psychic awareness, and not for the helix state, the bloodline. There is a bloodline of helix and pneumatics, but I'll get into that another time. And we've also touched upon the transcendence of alchemical process of, you know, the silver to gold in a sacramental nuptial union of the bride's chambers. So this is the union with the pleroma, and the nomad is the ultimate source of the invisible spirit that sits in the absolute pinnacle of reality, nothing above it. Pure animation overflows with divine, ongoing, producing higher realms. So this is more connection, obviously, to the positive side of the reflection of light from the sun, from the solar conscious awareness, and, you know, the dark abyss kind of in its unknowing subconscious state of being in that subterranean depths of the abyss. But this is where consciousness starts to begin its journey from darkness to light in the cosmic waters of this evolution of human conscious awareness. Well, really not so much, I wouldn't call it human, I would call it more spirit. You know, the spirit's conscious awakening from amnesia state to the divine source of the omnipresence of God, and that the microcosm connects to that macrocosm of the universe and all its forces.